Good morning, friends. Welcome back to the channel. It's a beautiful day here on the homestead. This is the first video down here in the studio at my new office. And here it's sounding and looking great, so hopefully it is for you guys on camera. So anyways, yesterday I was watching Jack Spirko's live stream recording of his Miyagi Morning portion of his podcast. And if you don't know who Jack Spirko is, he is the host of the Survival Podcast, a podcast that I've been listening and watching for probably at least 10 years. I know it's been going on at least 10 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. But Jack Spirko is a very well-educated, very intelligent man. He lives on 2 to 3 acres down in Texas doing permaculture and aquaponics and hydroponics and pretty much everything I would love to do here on the property. I have 80 acres. He's doing it on 2 to 3 acres. So proving to me that what I want to do on my wide open property, it can be done in a smaller, condensed area. And so Jack Spirko is doing his Miyagi Morning, which is like a more philosophical take on some things. It's like a 15 to 20 minutes segment. And he kind of puts them all together and he'll post it all as one podcast. But after the recording was done, he stuck around on the live stream and he was taking or answering questions from the comments on the live stream. And something was brought up about homeschooling and public education. Jack has been homeschooling his grandchildren for the last year since CV19 closed schools down. He didn't want his grandchildren to be missing out on education. It was extremely important to their growth. Now, there's a lot of people who chose to do virtual schools. Whether you believe it's good or not, I don't want my children to be staring at screens learning, especially when it's not very good for their health to begin with, to be staring at a screen all day long. So a lot of people decided to homeschool their children, right? Well, then it was brought up, there's a small, simple 3-letter phrase, a word that children say all the time, and for some reason, as an adult and as a parent, it really does annoy us. I actually experienced this earlier this year in the winter. We had a cold spell. And I experienced it, and I had to correct myself then. I realized it then, and I'm thankful that I did. But it's a simple 3-letter word, a small little phrase that kids anywhere between the ages of 2 and 5 will say and ask you. What is it? Any idea? I'll give you a 3, 2, 1. Why? The word why, for some reason, really annoys us. And I've got a couple different takes on it, but I'm not for sure if I'm right or wrong. Okay, guys? But why? Now, mind you, my child is 3.5 years old as of today. At the age of 2.5, he was sitting on my lap, running my backhoe, digging a hole. At 3.5 years old, with my supervision on the side, alongside, making sure he is safe, he can run the controls on my backhoe and dig a 6 to 8 foot hole with absolutely no issue. My child is very hands-on, he's a hands-on skills learner. He likes to take things apart, not necessarily be able to put them back together yet, but he wants to know how things function, how things are mechanical, and how life happens, basically. And so, with that being said, my child says that simple little phrase, why, quite a bit. Now, back in February, I was working on the tractor. We had a cold spell. We had negative degree temperatures for several nights in a row, almost 2 weeks straight. And my tractor is diesel, and inevitably we had temperatures with the wind chill negative 35 one night. Went out the next morning to clear some snow, started the tractor right up, but my return line gelled up. And so I spent the day heating the tractor, the block up with heaters and everything. And while that was happening, I drove to John Deere and I got a block heater. And I was in the garage looking for the plug on the side of the block to be able to remove that to put the block heater in to help keep the engine block warm during the cold temperatures. While I was doing this, my son was next to me. Mind you, it's like 10 degrees outside in the garage, but he's right there next to me. He wants to learn. And he was asking me why I was doing this. Why am I doing that, Daddy? Why are you taking it apart? What is that? I mean, he was asking questions left and right. And to this day, I'm not for sure if he remembers that conversation. I don't remember if he remembers helping me install the block heater or not. But he was asking so many questions. At that time, I was this close to getting upset because I was just busy. It was cold and I wanted to get things done. But I stopped myself. And I realized that my kid wanted to learn. He was asking questions because he wanted to figure out why things were happening, how they were happening, why I was doing what I was doing. And so, you know what I did? I stopped right there and I said, you know what? You can help me do this. This is a block heater, has a little, this is called a coil. It's a little copper plug. It has a plug-in that we can put into the extension cord on the wall, and that will heat up the motor, the engine, and so it won't be so hard to start tomorrow. And he said, okay, and he helped me put it in. And he does this regularly. He asks questions, and since February, he's a growing kid, he wants to know. He's asked questions multiple times. Does it get annoying occasionally? Yes. But me as the adult, I stop and I help him. I answer. That's it. I just want him to know. And not all the kids in this world get that. They get a lot of pushback and don't ask stupid questions and this and that. I always grew up with the idea and the thought of there is no stupid questions, just stupid people. Because the only stupid question is the one that's not asked. It may be redundant, it may be simple, it may be really stupid in your eyes. But if somebody doesn't know anything and they say, what are we doing? How do we do it? Why are we doing it? They're not doing it because they're 100% ignorant, but they want to know the checklists or the issues or whatever it be to do something or why we're doing something. And so from the ages of 2 to 5 years old, this is like the prime time, right? Kids are sponges to begin with. Absolute sponges. I say some things I probably shouldn't around my kid, and he'll repeat them. But now I've told him, you shouldn't say that or do that. And if I say that, my kid returns to me and says, Daddy, you shouldn't say that. It's a bad word. So he understands. And even if I don't say it, or I say something that's a small little phrase or something that's completely, instead of saying the F word, I say frick. Don't say that, Daddy. He understands. He's 3.5 years old. So, why? Okay, so from the ages of 2 to 5, by 2 years old, they should be able to communicate small sentences with you, tell you that they're thirsty, they want water, they want milk, or whatever it is. They should be able to probably be potty trained or on the way to be potty trained for sure. And, definitely working on that. They should be able to tell you they need to go potty. They need to pee, they need to poop, whatever it is. By 5 years old, I believe a 5-year-old should be able to go to the pantry, get a loaf of bread, open up the fridge, get some mayonnaise, get some deli meat, and make themselves a sandwich. Get a drink out of the fridge, get their own water from the fridge. There's no reason why they can't do simple tasks to become more independent. They ask you questions at a very young age because they're trying to figure out life. Now, some of those questions we don't have answers to, okay? It's just because we as adults, we've grown up and now we've figured out this is just the way we do things. And when a kid says, why are you doing that? We think, well, because that's the way it is. But in reality, they need to know why we're doing that because they don't know it's just the way it is. You can tell them that's just the way it is, but that's not going to help them further their knowledge. So after 5 years old, 4.5, 5 years old, they're going to preschool, kindergarten. And unfortunately, their future is in the hands of teachers and caregivers without your supervision, unless you homeschool. The next 12 to 13 years, what I do, I've called it indoctrination. They're trained from there on out to no longer ask why. Now, why is that? Coming from an adult, why is that? It's because adults are right, you're wrong as a child, you don't know better, the experts know everything, you're dumb, we're going to tell you what to know. And it's the truth. Think about it, guys. As soon as you went into public school, or even a private school, if you mouthed off, or if you thought of an idea that was probably intelligent in your mind, did you have somebody that says you're wrong? Instead of being corrected, a lot of kids just get, you're wrong, shut up. Instead of saying, well, that's not incorrect, let me help you out with that. And so what happens is that now translates to adults, because, from the ages of, 5 to 18 and on, you're told the experts know best, elders are best, the authorities know best, you know nothing. As adults, people won't question anything because they don't want the pushback. Because when you're a kid, adults were pushing back. And it's hard to admit it, but if your mommy and daddy said, don't put your hand on the stove, and you never put your hand on the stove to figure out why they said it, well, guess what? When you're an adult, you're never going to take the risks of anything. You're just going to sit by and let everybody tell you not to put the hand on the stove. And it's been very blatant for the last 18 months that if you were to question something happening, whether it be your health or the health of others or whatever we're experiencing, that the experts know best. The elders know best. You know nothing. Don't question them. You have no degree. And it's going back to you're being treated like a 5-year-old who knows nothing. And I've been led down many paths in my life, education-wise, and I came across this thing the other day that somebody was saying, you're stupid if you don't believe this. And they were wholeheartedly believing something. And so I asked them, I said, if you believe it, do you trust it? And if you trust it, do you have the ability to back up what you're believing and you're trusting? Now, this is a little offshoot here. Medicine is fluid. Medicine is not a one-way street. Although a lot of people wish it was because, whatever. Science is not a one-way street. It's fluid. But people want to believe that it's a one-way street. If one scientist comes to the conclusion of something, nobody else can question that scientist. No other scientist can question what was found, because that scientist is now, by the powers that the community will have, is now correct 100% of the time, and nobody else can question it to see if there's a possibility that the findings could be incorrect, or if there's another way to address things. Especially with, like I said, modern day medicine. I only say this because I worked in healthcare for 12 years, for 6 months until I retired from my job. I call it retirement. I experienced, what we are experiencing, like CV19, taking care of patients. And the arguments that were had by healthcare professionals on what was right and what was wrong to treat a patient in the beginning versus now, well, things have changed. But they don't want to admit that the treatment of these patients have changed, because medicine is a one-way road to these people. And I still work with those in healthcare every single day. It's just interesting how small things from your childhood can carry over to adulthood. Don't ask why. As a child, because your parents will not answer you. They'll just push you off, brush you off, and let you go. Always wondering until you hurt yourself. And there's a lot of people who will miss that connection day in and day out. I don't know why it's so hard to make it. But it is what it is. But why? Question everything, guys. And this is why children do it. Not because they're dumb. They just want to be educated. They just don't know it yet because they're sponges who are taking the time that they don't know is ticking away to learn. So anyways, the next time your child, your grandchild, your niece, nephew, your neighbor's best friend's kid, or whatever, whoever it is, as soon as a kid comes over, or you see a kid and they ask you, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Don't brush them off. Tell them. Explain it to them. They want to know. Anyways, until the next time, guys, keep calm and carry on. Stay safe. I'll see you around.